Welcome into the Commanders Report live show here on a beautiful Thursday. March Madness is officially here, but you know what, man? We're here to talk some Commanders football today. So we got some good stuff lined up for you on today's show. First, we're going to be talking about the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders, including a rumor that the Washington Commanders may have a deal done to trade down to number 11 with the Minnesota Vikings in the first round of the NFL draft. I'll address that rumor. I'll also address the Terry McLaurin trade rumors that have surfaced in the last couple of days as well. And the Commanders made another signing today, so I'll reveal who that is and talk about how they fit with the Commanders moving forward. Also, we're going to be getting to my offensive tackle prospect rankings for the 2024 NFL draft class. I got my top 13 offensive tackles. Really good tackle class this year. So we're going to be taking care of that today. Last week we did the edge rusher prospect rankings. This week we're going to be doing the tackles. And then, of course, we're going to have the Commanders Report live mailbag where you guys can ask your questions on the Burgundy and Gold. And to get on the show today, all you have to do is go down there into the live chat, use hashtag Commanders along with your questions. So just down there in the comment section, put hashtag Commanders along with your question. And producer Coop, by the way, what's up, Coop? How are you doing today?
I am well, Jack Sperry. How are you?
I am doing good. So he will sift through those questions and get your question on the mailbag. Or if you want to guarantee that your question gets on the mailbag today, all you have to do is super chat. It can be any amount. It could be $2. It could be $5. It could be $10. Doesn't matter. If you super chat, your question will get on the mailbag today. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. So right now, we got about 170 people already in the chat. Tell me where you're watching the show from here for a shout out. I see Jonathan Taylor is already here. I see Angry Cobra is here. Connor Bond is here. He says the title threw you. All right, well, we're going to be talking about it today, all right, because there's some pretty juicy rumors out there in the ether right now. We got Patrick here. We got Kevin. We got Cassie's here. What's up, Cassie? My girlfriend is here. Everyone be nice to Cassie. And you know what, Coop? If Cassie puts in a question today, it's going on the mailbag. You understand me?
It better be a good one.
All right. You hear that, Cassie? It better be a good one. All right. We got Commanders fan number 1. Hugh Collins is here. He's from South Carolina. Kenny is from Front Royal, Virginia. Kenny Lewis is from North Carolina.
Jonathan Taylor says he's watching from his bed. I wish I was in bed right now.
Jonathan, where's your bed at?
What city is your bed located in?
Tim Frampton is from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Hale Skins is from North Carolina. Lonnie Broom is from Maryland. Jonathan Taylor keeps putting in his questions, baby. He wants to know about Jonah Ellis.
We'll answer that on the mailbag.
So, Jonathan, we'll talk about some Jonah Ellis stuff today on the mailbag. We talked about him a little bit last week. Tim Farrell's from Eastern Canada. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. Connor Bond is from Sydney, Virginia, or Hampden, Sydney. Then we got Alfie from England. Oh, my goodness, man.
England.
We've got an international community here for the Washington Commanders. All right, let's get into today's content here. Super chat menu today. Any super chat, you're going to get a shout out. You're going to get your question on the mailbag today. Then also every $5 that you spend this month on the Commanders Report in super chats gives you one raffle ticket to win a Commanders mini helmet signed by me and Coop. And we'll send it to your way. So $5 spent is one raffle ticket. Next week is the raffle. So make sure you guys get those super chats in for your chance to win.
It's already almost the end of March.
I know. It's kind of crazy, man. I mean, with free agency and all these, and even, everything has just flown by this month, man, if you ask me. Then $10 today. If you send in a $10 super chat, Coop and I will take shots for you. And then $20, if you guys don't know, producer Jeffrey Cooperstein is a Cowboys fan. And for $20, I will slap him in the face as hard as I can with a tortilla. All right, he absolutely hates it. That's exactly why it's on the Super Chat menu today. So if you want to slap the Cowboys fan, $20, and we'll get it going for you. All right, we'll slap the crap out of the Cowboys fan. So without further ado, let's get into today's content. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon, like today's stream. I really do appreciate it. We got 163 people watching, just 23 likes. I want to get up to 40 likes before we get into this first segment here. So if you've clicked that thumbs up icon, type me in the chat. Type me in the chat if you've clicked that thumbs up icon, all right? I see Lidges here. We got Ken. We got Kenny. We got Edward. We got Mystery Pie. We got Kenny Lewis. We got Gary. We got Rex. Make sure you guys type me if you've clicked that thumbs up icon. We got Michael Moses. We got Hugh Collins. We got Tim. We've got Mr. Pink. What's up, Mr. Pink? We got Ken Gray. We got Angry Cobra. We got Commanders fan number 1, Edward. Marvin Wright. We're 2 likes away, folks. Get those me's in the chat. We got PS. We got Hale Skins. We got Brad Tatro. All right, we got there, baby. Let's get into it right now. Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking about a recent report that the Washington Commanders might be considering trading down with the Minnesota Vikings in an exchange for their now 2 first-round draft picks in the 2024 NFL Draft. I'll react to that. Also, we'll talk a little bit about Terry McLaurin and whether or not he could get traded this offseason. Then I'll get into the live mailbag today. Again, hashtag Commanders or Super Chat to get your question on the show. And then we'll finish up the show today with my official 2024 offensive tackle prospect rankings and the guys that I think the Washington Commanders should be targeting to be their next left tackle of this football team. What'd you say?
We got some dogs on there.
It's a good tackle class, man. I can't wait to talk about these guys today. So without further ado, let's get into this first segment right now, the latest news and rumors surrounding the Washington Commanders. Could the Washington Commanders be moving down in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft? Well, there's a recent report that they might be trading down with the Minnesota Vikings after they just acquired a second first-round draft pick from the Houston Texans last week. We'll address this rumor today on the Commanders Report, but before we get into that, get in the comments section to kick off today's show and let me know. Should the Washington Commanders trade down from their current draft slot at number 2 overall in the first round? Just simply give me a yes or no, and then let me know your reasoning down there in the comments section. So let's start with Minnesota, who apparently is in love with Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina. And some around the NFL believe that Minnesota has a deal in place to trade up to get Drake May. Now, whether it's Washington, whether it's New England, people don't know that, and they don't know the specifics, but people are speculating that Minnesota would not have made that trade with the Houston Texans that they made last week, acquiring a second first-round draft pick if they weren't sure that they were going to be able to move up within the top 5 of the NFL Draft. So this is what Isaiah DeAndre Delgado from Sports Illustrated had to say. Currently, the Vikings hold the number 11 overall pick and the number 23 pick in this year's draft, which presumably was acquired so that the team can make a move up for a QB and keep superstar receiver Justin Jefferson happy and in Minnesota long term. Hypothetically, this trade would cost the Vikings both its 2024 first rounders, numbers 11 and 23, a 2024 fourth rounder, and its 2025 third rounder. Then we get to, from the Commanders side of things here, this deal could make a lot of sense for both parties because it gives Washington a good return with picks this year to help general manager Adam Peters rebuild this roster so that head coach Dan Quinn can help it contend as fast as possible. So this is their projected trade here for the number 2 overall pick. And honestly, guys, I don't think that this is enough, all right? I really don't. Moving from 2 to number 11, you're really taking a risk in terms of which quarterback you're going to be able to get at number 11 versus number 2 when you're in the driver's seat. I don't know how I feel about this potential trade package between the Vikings and Commanders, but let me know how you feel down there in the comments section. If the Vikings offered this for the number 2 overall pick, let me know what you guys would do. Type A if you'd accept it, or type D if you're going to decline it. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Now, my opinion on this, guys, is that trading back makes literally no sense for the Washington Commanders, all right? Especially as far back as number 11. Now, if you feel pretty good about Drake May and Jaden Daniels and the Patriots want to move up one spot, all right, fine. I'd be willing to trade down to number 3. But right now, you are in need of a number 1 franchise quarterback, all right? And you're in the position to take any quarterback that you want other than Caleb Williams, and you're in that driver's seat. So if you want Jaden Daniels, you can get him. If you want Drake May, you can get him. Hell, if you want J.J. McCarthy, you can make sure you get J.J. McCarthy at number 2. But if you move back to number 11, then things get a bit hairy because now you're in a position where you're probably not going to get your guy, or at least you are not 100% certain to get your guy. And right now you are sitting in that spot where you have the chance to take your pick of quarterback, and that is extremely, extremely valuable for these teams. So I would say take it to the bank, folks. I do not think the Washington Commanders are going to be trading back because they have no incentive to do so. They don't have a franchise quarterback. They just brought in a new head coach that probably wants to bring in his quarterback of the future, and whether that be Drake May, whether that be Jaden Daniels, whether that be somebody else for some reason, because those two guys should be between May and Daniels at this point. At the end of the day, this is what the Commanders should do, and I understand you could get an additional first-round pick, but you need to get the quarterback right here. If you don't get the quarterback right, none of it matters, all right? So you got to get your guy at number 2, and I think that's what the Commanders are going to do. Now, coming up here, we'll address the Terry McLaurin rumors that have been going around here over the last several days, whether or not you should take any stock in it. Will McLaurin be traded? I'll answer those questions here in just a second, but before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. And you know what, man? If you think Terry McLaurin is going to be here in Washington for the foreseeable future and for many years to come like I do, you can get one of a really stylish, scary Terry McLaurin t-shirt from our friends at Fanatics today. When you go to chatsports.com/scary, I mean, you look at this t-shirt, you got that white t-shirt. It's perfect for any time of the month. You can wear it during the summer. It's not going to get too hot. And I really like that design from our friends at Fanatics there. He's got the gun showing. Absolutely love Scary Terry as a player. Can't wait to see him play here in Washington for many years to come. If you agree with me, put your money where your mouth is right now by going to chatsports.com/scary to get a great deal on this t-shirt from our friends at Fanatics today. So now let's get into Terry McLaurin here, because there's definitely rumors swirling around, like the teams like the Steelers and the Patriots and a few other teams are interested in acquiring a good, established star wide receiver on the trade market before the NFL draft. Now, my take on getting rid of Scary Terry here is, unless you get an unbelievable trade package, like 2 first-round picks or a first-rounder and like a second-rounder as well, if there's just an offer on the table you just can't refuse, all right, fine, maybe we can talk about it. But at the end of the day, man, Scary Terry McLaurin, in my opinion, is a borderline top 10 receiver in the league, and we're just in the middle of a rebuild here, and Terry is still relatively young. He is a building block for this team for the years to come, in my opinion. And you look at the last several seasons here, every single year he's had over 1,000 yards receiving. All right, he has been so consistent. You have to remember, Terry has had to deal with some of the worst quarterback play out of any wide receiver in the league. All right, so it's not like he has a top 10, top 5 star receiver, or quarterback, I should say, throwing him the football. He's had guys like Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell and Carson Wentz throwing him the football. That's just not going to cut it. And Terry McLaurin, despite that, has still been one of the most productive receivers in the National Football League. And now, if you pair him with that quarterback that you're going to take at number 2, I definitely think Scary Terry could ascend to be a bona fide top 10 receiver in the National Football League. And he's definitely your number 1 guy now. And if you trade him away for even a first-round pick, is there any guarantee that the wide receiver you end up drafting is going to be better or at least the same as Terry McLaurin? No way. McLaurin's awesome. I don't want to get rid of him unless there is an offer I simply can't refuse. And right now, I just don't see that coming to pass during the 2024 offseason. I would bet Terry McLaurin is a Commander in 2024. Now, let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Would you trade Scary Terry in exchange for a round 1 pick? Type T if you would trade him, or type P if you would pass and keep him on the roster. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Now, before I go, we do have another signing for the Washington Commanders here, and it's backup cornerback James Pierre, formerly with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pierre is somebody that has played some football here over the last several years. He's come in as a backup for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they've dealt with some injuries over the past several seasons. He's started a couple of games as well. So he's experienced. I wouldn't say that he's like a high caliber starter, and he's not really even anything close to that, but he's somebody that's played on an NFL field before. If called upon, he's somebody that could be a decent piece in terms of depth here in the cornerback room under Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. All right, that's going to be it for today's show, guys. I appreciate your support. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now for more Commanders news and rumors coverage all throughout the 2024 offseason. First segment done, Mr. Coop.
The one thing about McLaurin that I wanted to mention was he never misses games. It looks like I'll go back to it, but I'm pretty sure the last 3 seasons he hasn't missed a game.
Yeah, so in 2020, he missed a couple. He missed one.
I think that's one because they played 16 then.
Yeah, exactly. So he's somebody that's always been super dependable, super reliable, doesn't get hurt, and he's just somebody that I think that if you give him the right quarterback, Coop, this is somebody that can easily be a top 10 receiver in the league. I mean, he's not
1,000 yards 4 straight years.
I mean, I think he's one of the more underrated route runners in the league. He's super fast, really intelligent route runner as well. Definitely think that Terry McLaurin, with the right quarterback, whether that be Jaden Daniels, who throws that beautiful deep ball, or Drake May, I do think that either one of those guys could really unlock Terry McLaurin's skill set. And he's 28 years old, which isn't necessarily young anymore, but he's an established veteran.
He's got time left.
And he still has plenty of time left and plenty of juice left in the tank, in my opinion. So unless you're getting like 2 firsts or like a first and a second for him, like something just unbelievable in terms of value for him, I am not giving up Terry McLaurin. He's absolutely awesome. I want him as my number 1 receiver.
He's going to be one of the leaders on this team as they try to ascend into playoff contention as well. So, you have to keep Terry unless you're getting an unbelievable haul that you can't refuse.
Exactly. $5 super chat here from my man Lonnie Broom. Says, hey, Jack, how do you rank the Commanders' defense so far? So rank in terms of like grade or rank in terms of like the NFL?
Like in terms of the NFL, where do you think they are right now? Like 20-ish?
I would hope for like about league average.
Yeah. Last year they were a disaster. Let's put it that way.
Because like, they've disappointed me a bit with how they've addressed the edge rusher position. Like I think Dorrance Armstrong's more of a number 2 than a number 1. I think Cleveland Ferrell's more of a rotational piece as opposed to as a starter, which is what they're expecting him to be now. Dante Fowler Jr. is fine as a rotational piece. And, of course, you got the 2 guys up the middle in Payne and Allen.
You hit it. My biggest concern is they're not going to be able to get to the quarterback enough.
Yeah, and, Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn, they're going to do a lot of these exotic pressure packages that they like to do with Dallas, and that's why you go out and get a Frankie Louvu and a Bobby Wagner and, the guys that they got in the linebacker room, because they're going to need guys that can be versatile in that way and kind of play multiple positions.
And I assume Wagner's going to be wearing the green dot?
Yeah, he will be. Yeah, he will be. And, another concern is the secondary. I mean, right now, seems like they're kind of banking on Emmanuel Forbes to be the number 1 corner. And like last year, he was not a number 1 corner, all right? I mean, I think he's a good fit for this defense, but I would feel more comfortable with Emmanuel Forbes being the number 2 guy in this system as opposed to throwing him in year 2 after a really rough rookie season as the bona fide number 1 option in that room. I mean, I don't know, because if he doesn't work out, Coop, like, I mean, where do you go from there? Like, who's going to be guarding the number 1 receivers?
Kendall Fuller's gone.
I mean, you got A.J. Brown in the division. You got CeeDee Lamb in the division. All right, it looks like the Giants might pick up Roma Dunze or Malik Neighbors in the division.
Yeah.
All right, so you need a number 1 corner that can stick with those guys and kind of shadow them and do what they need to do. And right now, the Commanders don't have the corners to do it.
Realistically, right now, who is the starting corner opposite Forbes?
The guy that from the chart, Davis.
That's right. Yeah.
I would assume Davis is going to be the number 2 corner, but I think that'll be like a legit competition between him and Benjamin St-Juste. Because I mean, it's not like
I like St-Juste, but
it's not like Juice had like a great season last year either. It's like it's a very unremarkable edge group on the defense right now, and it's a very unremarkable corner group on this defense.
Certainly.
I like the safeties. I like this fit with Jeremy Chin. I like Quan Martin. I like Derek Forrest a lot. I like the linebackers. I mean, Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu are a great combo, and I love the guys up the middle. But like, on the edge of the defensive line and then on the perimeter when it comes to the secondary, that's going to be kind of the weaknesses for the Washington Commanders, at least to this point. We'll see how they address that throughout the rest of the offseason. But right now, I think the best you can really hope for is like league average defense.
Yeah, I mean, if you're league average defense and you have a much improved offense, which I think they will, that's probably that's going to be the formula for winning games.
Yeah, and I think another thing to keep in mind here, Coop, is that this is year one of a new rebuild.
Of course.
So I'm not even sure if the Commanders expect themselves to be a top 10 or top 5 defense next year. I think they're just going to be looking to get some good young players in there, try to compete, and see where they can go from there.
Yeah,
that's kind of where their focus is
I think that's what makes the most sense.
All right, how many questions do we got? Are we good?
We're good to go.
All right, let's get into the mailbag right now. Can't wait to answer your questions on the Burgundy and Gold. If you haven't already, click that thumbs up icon. We're 20 likes away from 100. That's our goal today. We're trying to get to 100 likes today. We got about 250 people watching. So if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate if you click that thumbs up icon real quick to help out the channel. And with that, let's get into the mailbag. NFL free agency continues here in the NFL offseason, and I'm here to answer your questions when it comes to the Washington Commanders as the NFL draft gets closer and closer by the day. Before I get into the questions for this week's Q&A, go ahead and click that subscribe button if you haven't already to join the most interactive Commanders fan community here on YouTube. We do these mailbags every single week to give you guys a voice on the channel, all right? I love hearing from you guys. I love hearing what you want to talk about and all these different things you have questions on. I love talking with you. I love talking Commanders football with you guys. So if you want to join our family today and get your question on next week's Q&A, make sure you click that subscribe button right now. We'll start with Jonathan Taylor here. He says, I would only want Jonah Ellis if he is there in the 4th round. I went back over his technique, and he just will struggle to be a number 2 or 3 edge rusher on any team, which B plus could. What is that? I don't even know what that symbol is. But here's what I'll say, Jonathan. As somebody that has watched his film from last season, the last couple games of his career at Utah, he was dealing with a very major shoulder injury that he was playing through. Couldn't use the shoulder at all. And I think a lot of people are watching those games when evaluating him, and I think that's unfair to his evaluation. Now, and honestly, the first game I watched of Jonah Ellis was when he was dealing with that shoulder injury, and I was like, why is this guy being projected as a day 2 pick, right? I didn't get it. But then I popped on a couple of games before his injury, and he was unbelievable. All right, he's got great size. I think that he's got a great rip move, good swim move. He's got a bunch of different moves at his disposal, and even better yet, he knows when to deploy those moves, in my opinion. All right, so when I look at him on film, you're not going to see him be like Chop Robinson, right, where he's going to get a great get off, and then he's going to use Ben to kind of run around the offensive tackle and get to the quarterback. That's not Jonah Ellis's game. Jonah Ellis's game is to win with power and to win with finesse and win with his hand-fighting ability, and he does that consistently on film before his shoulder injury when he could actually use his shoulder. So I'm a big believer in Jonah Ellis personally. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. And if you disagree with me, Jonathan, perfectly fine with that. I have no qualms about anyone disagreeing with me, but I feel pretty darn confident where I stand with what I've seen on film, and I like Jonah Ellis quite a bit. Then we got one from Koopa. He says, could you see us trading back with Minnesota and take J.J. McCarthy at number 11? Is McCarthy really that much lower than May and Daniels? Yes, he is. He really is. It's not that I hate McCarthy, all right? I just put out a scouting report video on McCarthy on the channel earlier this week, and, there's some good things about him. He's got good size. He's got a good arm. He's a good runner of the football. I think that he's pretty darn good pre-snap. He's good at reading defenses before the ball is snapped and knows where to put his eyes and where his first read is. The problem with McCarthy is he's not fully developed as a post-snap processor, and he's got significant accuracy issues outside the numbers and deep down the field, in my opinion. All right, so those 2 red flags put him significantly lower than May and Daniels, at least on my big board. I think May and Daniels have not only more ceiling, but also have a higher floor. So for me personally, I am not considering trading down whatsoever. If you're sitting at number 2 and you need a quarterback and you could choose between Drake May and Jaden Daniels, it just doesn't make sense to trade down. I would rather stay put. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Would you trade back and draft J.J. McCarthy at number 11? Type A if you would approve of that decision, or type D if you would decline that decision and stay at number 2. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. All right, so now let's get to a $5 super chat from my man Lonnie Broom. It says, "Hey Jack, how do you rank the Commanders' defense so far?" So if I'm comparing the Commanders' defense to the rest of the NFL right now, I would say the best case scenario, what you're hoping for, is league average defense. Now that might sound underwhelming. All right, but look at what they have right now. All right, you have Dorrance Armstrong as your number 1 edge rusher. I mean, I like Dorrance as a number 2, but he's not going to be your true number 1. All right, he's just not. And then Cleveland Ferrell as your other edge rusher that's going to probably take significant snaps. I mean, seriously? I mean, I think he's more of a rotational guy, and then I like a Fowler Jr., Dante Fowler Jr. as a rotational piece, but it's just underwhelming at that point at that position. And I do understand you have Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen on the interior, but if you're going to be relying on your interior guys for most of your pressure when you're rushing with only 4, that's a recipe for disaster. And then also the cornerback room is very suspect. Right now it seems like they're going to plan on Emmanuel Forbes to be the number 1 option at corner. And if he doesn't pan out, it's like we got A.J. Brown in this division, man. We're going to have either Roma Dunze or Malik Neighbors or maybe even Marvin Harrison Jr., if you believe some of the rumors out there, in this division moving forward, right? So this is going to be something where Emmanuel Forbes is going to have a lot of pressure on him heading into next year. And if he's not up to it, we're going to be in trouble, at least in my opinion. So I say right now, you're hoping for top 15, top 20, decent level defense heading into year 1 of the Dan Quinn era. Then we got one from Cassie. Producer Coop actually got her question on here. Says, what's your prediction on season record currently with the predicted players being signed? So right now, it's so hard to answer this question because you just don't know if the quarterback that they're going to draft is going to be good right away. Some of these guys take even 2 to 3 years to develop into legitimate good quarterbacks in this league. It takes time with some of these guys. But if I'd have to predict right now, I'd say they'd be anywhere between 6-11 and 10-7, depending on how the quarterback plays and how the draft ends up for them. So I really do think the draft is going to be massive for this football team this year. I'm a believer in Dan Quinn long term, but this is definitely going to be a rebuild here. They're not going to be winning the Super Bowl this season. I'm not going to kind of put those projections and those expectations out there. I believe in this head coach long term, but there might be a couple of bumps along the way. Let's put it that way. So we got more questions to come here on the Commanders Report live mailbag coming up here, but make sure you guys click that subscribe button because we're just getting started with our draft content here from the Commanders Report. We got a bunch of stuff already on there, a bunch of mock drafts, couple of positional ranking videos. We got a bunch of scouting reports. We just put one out on J.J. McCarthy earlier this week. We have Jaden Daniels and Drake May and even Caleb Williams on the channel as well. So we've already put out a bunch of great draft content, and it's just going to keep on coming every single day for free here on YouTube. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now for 100% free Commanders content all throughout the 2024 offseason. Then we got one from Commanders fan number 1. He says, if you were to draft anybody, who would it be? Caleb Williams. All right, if I have the chance to draft anybody in this draft, I'm taking Caleb Williams. He has the highest grade of any quarterback I have ever evaluated for the draft, and I've been doing it for 8 seasons. All right, so he has a higher grade than Joe Burrow for me. He has a higher grade than Trevor Lawrence for me. All right, he has a higher grade than Kyler Murray. All right, he has the highest grade I've ever given to a quarterback prospect because he does pretty much everything well. All right, incredible playmaker. Everybody knows about that. But what really goes underrated with Caleb is his ability to beat you from the pocket. Perfect pocket footwork, can go through a full field progression. And, he likes to go out and play hero ball from time to time. I mean, last year he had to score 50 points or his team would lose. His defense was so bad. And that's kind of where that comes from. I don't think that's going to be a problem in the NFL. I think he's a really special player. And if the Commanders can somehow find a way to trade up for him, I would be pretty damn happy about that, man. Then we got one from Thorny45, says, I hear the Steelers are interested in trading their first rounder for Scary Terry. Should we take it? No, I wouldn't if I were Adam Peters. You look at your wide receiver room right now, and you look at the offense that's coming in here with Cliff Kingsbury, who likes to use 4 receivers at a time. You can make an argument the Commanders need to add in the wide receiver room, not send somebody away, especially a guy like Scary Terry, who's had over 1,000 yards receiving in the last 4 seasons, and he's done it with really subpar quarterback play, right? So I think that you get the right quarterback in here that can develop a nice connection with Scary Terry. I think he's going to explode. He's going to have just an incredible run here in Washington, and I want him in a Commanders uniform, so I would not trade Terry McLaurin if I had the opportunity, even for a first-rounder. So would you trade McLaurin for a first-round pick? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Type T if you would trade him, or type P if you're going to pass on an opportunity to trade him. Remember, he has 2 years left on his contract, and the Commanders are entering a rebuild. So keep that in mind before you give your answer. Let me know down there in the comments section. Then we got one from Rex, who says, do you believe the quarterback we pick will start this season? My fear is Mariota will start. You and me both, Rex. I do not want Mariota to start. All right, if you guys watched our breaking news video on the Marcus Mariota signing, I'm not a big fan of Mariota. I think he stinks. All right, so if the rookie quarterback can't go in there and win the job outright to start the year, that's going to be a little bit concerning to me because I don't think Mariota can play. And I think they're way overpaying him. And I think any game that Mariota probably plays for this football team, I think you can chalk it up as a loss. All right, so even if he does start the season, I don't expect him to win many games or even play in many games. I do think the rookie will take over relatively early heading into next year. Then we got Brooke Vasquez here. He says, what is a cornerback that you're hoping falls to round 2 for the Commanders? This one's pretty easy for me, Kool-Aid McKinstry. And the reason why I say Kool-Aid is because he is very aggressive, very physical, long arms, great run defender. He reminds me a lot, actually, of Joey Porter Jr. coming out of Penn State last year. And he was one of the best coverage corners in press man coverage last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had an unbelievable rookie season, and he looks like a legitimate number 1 corner in this league. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry could do something similar for sure. I think that he is awesome as a player, but he has a foot injury that he's been dealing with. Wasn't able to work out at the combine because of it, and I'm worried that's going to drive down his draft value, which would be a good thing for the Commanders, because if that happens, he could be there at 36 or even at number 40, and I would think that he would be the perfect fit to pair with Emmanuel Forbes in this defense. So I'm hoping Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama falls to the Commanders there in round 2. So now it's your turn. Let me know down there in the comments section. Who do you want to fall to the Washington Commanders in round 2? Let me know down there in the comments section a player that is projected to go round 1 right now that you're hoping falls to round 2. Can't wait to see some of the names down there in the comments section. And that's going to be it for today's show, guys, and this week's mailbag. I appreciate all of your support, and I thank every single person that submitted questions for this week's Q&A. And until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders. One more to go, Mr. Coop.
Uno mas.
Uno mas.
There's just no way I'm trading Scary Terry for a first-round pick. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't even do it. If it was for Pittsburgh at number 20, I'm not doing it.
I'd have to agree with you, man. I just, you can make an argument right now with Curtis Samuel leaving in free agency.
You need to add, not subtract.
Exactly. You need to
100%.
add and not subtract in that room. Now, I like the guys that we currently have in there. I like Terry. I like how Jahan Dotson projects moving forward. And De'Ami Brown, I think, is a little bit underrated. He's definitely not what they were.
Solid.
He's been okay.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind if in a great deep wide receiver class this year that they went out and got like a Malik Washington or somebody in like day 3.
There's just so many good receivers in the draft that you need to go get one.
They certainly can for sure. But the thing that you cannot do, in my opinion, Coop, is trade down for J.J. McCarthy.
No.
I have a late first-round grade on J.J. McCarthy right now.
You have him as your 6th?
I have him as my QB 6 this year. And the reason for that is the accuracy concerns I have when he's throwing outside the numbers and deep. All right, and I think that those issues can't be tied to his footwork or his throwing mechanics. And usually you can, and this was a concern I had about Desmond Ridder, by the way, when he was coming out, because he had pretty good footwork and he had pretty good throwing mechanics, and yet his accuracy was off. And, if your accuracy is off to the deep parts of the field and outside the numbers, and you can only throw in the middle parts of the field, that really limits what your offensive play caller can do with you, because they can't trust you to throw it outside the numbers or deep, right?
Yes.
So it really is limiting. And he's got a good arm. He's a good athlete. Sounds like he's a great kid. I got nothing against the guy, but these rumors that he's going to be a top 5 pick and like the Vikings might trade up into the top 5 for him.
There's no way I'm taking him in top 5.
I don't understand that thinking. I mean, the only way I can really understand it is that you hope and pray that his accuracy improves to the deep parts of the field.
Yeah, you would have to
in the league, and I just don't see how it improves.
If you're the Commanders, though, would you take this offer from the Vikings?
No way. I mean, right now you're in a very secure spot. All right, you already have 5 picks in the first 100 picks.
Yeah.
It's not like you
don't need more capital.
It's not like you're desperate to get more picks.
Right.
All right, so you got plenty of picks. What you don't have is a quarterback.
Right.
And, outside of Caleb Williams, you're going to have your pick of the litter. All right, you're going to have your pick out of the other 5 quarterbacks that could go in round 1.
Just take Drake May.
But if you trade back, you're risking losing out on the guy that you want to get. Like, if you're trading back for J.J. McCarthy and then somebody, swoops in and takes him before your pick at 11, you're screwed. And you have to go with Bo Nix or Michael Penix.
And at that point, I would rather just draft somebody else and try the quarterback thing over again next year.
Or you just stay at 2
and take Drake May.
And you take Drake May or Jaden Daniels. Yeah. I don't care which one. You guys know I'd rather have Drake May. But you guys also know I don't care which one. I'm not somebody that's like Team Drake or Team Jaden, all right? I'd be fine with either one of them. But take one of them. Don't trade back and lose them.
No.
It'd be the stupidest decision this organization has ever made, in my opinion.
And they've made a lot of them.
And that's saying something, all right? Take a freaking quarterback. You don't have one right now. You need one. It doesn't make sense to trade back, at least in my opinion.
You don't need to get too cute.
Yeah, don't overthink it.
Just take the quarterback.
And, Pat Seeps, our Vikings host, keeps hoping and praying that either the Commanders or the Patriots are going to trade back. But honestly, they have no incentive to.
Why would they?
Both teams need quarterbacks.
What? Yeah, whoever the Commanders take, the Patriots are taking the other between May and Daniels.
It really is that simple to
me.
And, I understand that NFL draft media, they want to produce juice and they want to produce headlines and all this stuff. So they're going to talk about trade-up opportunities. But on draft day, these teams are going to be like, we're taking a quarterback.
Yeah. They're not moving, man.
Caleb is in a tier of his own, in my opinion. Then you've got the really good prospects, the blue chip guys, Drake May and Jaden Daniels.
Yep.
Would be fine with either one of them. And then there's another tier of kind of like, maybe with the right fit they could work out, but they're definitely risky. That's the McCarthy, Nix. And Penix.
Yeah.
All right, if you trade out of number 2, you're going from the blue chip tier to the maybe, we're not too sure tier. And that's something I'm not willing to do, especially at a position that important.
And then after McCarthy, it's 50 feet of shit. You have Michael Pratt and Spencer Rattler. Those, no.
As your number 1, yeah, I mean.
No.
If you bring it, I like Rattler as a round 2 guy.
No way.
And then Pratt is maybe a day 3 guy, but as your franchise starting quarterback moving forward, no way, right? You got to take Drake May or Jaden Daniels. Just stay at 2. Don't overthink it. Stick at 2. Take a quarterback.
What about Sam Hartman? Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness. He stinks.
He's bad.
Sam Hartman will not get drafted this year. I will guarantee that right now. Sam Hartman will not get drafted.
Someone asked in the chat, what about Xavier Legette at 36?
So, I love Legette. I love me some Xavier Legette. I love Legette because he reminds me of A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
He's big. I mean, he's actually a better route runner than people give him credit for. He's great after the catch. Obviously, he's massive. I think you got to probably go out and get your other needs, all right? Because you probably need, what? a tackle.
Corner.
You probably want to get another interior offensive lineman of some sort. You're going to need corner. You're going to need edge rusher.
Edge, yep.
There's quite a bit that you need. So, listen, if they have a plan to address all those needs and get Leggett at 36, I'd be down. But if you're asking me if I'm willing to not get a left tackle or I'm willing to not get another starting corner for the future because we're drafting Xavier Leggett, I'd say no, because you could go in round 4, round 5, and still get a decent wide receiver in this draft. And it's not like you need to get somebody that's your number one guy. You have Terry here. I like Jahan Dotson.
One more name that someone mentioned. How about JT Sanders? They do need a tight end.
I love Jatavian Sanders, man.
Do you think that's a fit?
I have mocked him to this team probably in every single mock draft I've done. I like it, man. I like the fit with Jatavian Sanders. I understand that Brock Bowers is Brock Bowers, and he's unbelievable as a weapon.
Ridiculous.
But Jatavian Sanders is not as far off from Brock Bowers as people think.
Yeah.
Sanders would be bona fide number one tight end, maybe even a first-round pick.
In basically any other
draft. And Brock Bowers wasn't just completely sucking up all of the room. Pause, right? Okay. Yeah, all that great stuff. All right. Let's get into my offensive tackle draft targets. All right. Obviously, the Commanders probably aren't going to be taking a tackle in round 1. Looks like they're going to be taking a quarterback, which they should be, by the way. So you got 2 picks at the top of round 2. Pick number 36, pick number 40. It's a very deep tackle class, so there's going to be some decent tackle prospects waiting for you there in the second round. So today, we're going to be breaking down my top 13 NFL draft prospects at the offensive tackle position. Like I said, it's a super deep class this year. Probably the deepest class I've ever seen in the 8 years I've been doing this. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of guys that could be starters in the league this year. All right, so we're going to be breaking that down here in just a second. Cooper, are we ready to get things going?
Well, good to go, my man.
All right, let me just take one more swig here. By the way, did that Morehead State game finish?
Yeah, Illinois blew them out.
Illinois won?
Yeah.
All right. By the way,
the Cocks are down, though.
By the way, perfect bracket so far. Perfect bracket so far. I need the Cocks to beat Oregon.
The Cocks are down 15. We're in trouble there.
Come on, Cox. Let's go. Keep the perfect bracket alive. All right, let's get into this next segment here. Offensive tackle prospects and draft targets for the Washington Commanders. This year's offensive tackle class for the NFL draft is probably the deepest I have seen in my 8 years as an NFL talent evaluator. And I definitely think that sitting in the second round here for the Washington Commanders, they have pick number 36 and number 40. There's going to be somebody there for the Commanders to take that I think is going to be a long-term starter for this team in the trenches for years to come. Before we get into my offensive tackle rankings today and which offensive tackle prospects this team should target in round 2 of the NFL draft or beyond, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon for more positional ranking videos right here on the Commanders Report. We already have an edge rusher one on the channel. You can check that one out after today's show. But make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you want us to keep giving you this type of content. All right, so now let's go over the current situation with the offensive line for the Washington Commanders. Right now, Cornelius Lucas is slated to be your starting left tackle. And listen, man, I like Lucas. I think he's a good swing tackle. He came in and played pretty darn well when Charles Leno Jr. was dealing with some injuries last year, but he's not going to be your franchise left tackle. All right, and then Andrew Wiley, gave him that big contract last year. It probably doesn't make sense to bench him or anything like that, but he's somebody, that didn't have a great season last year either. So there's definitely room here for the Commanders to upgrade at the position, and I think they absolutely need to try and find somebody that could be their franchise left tackle in the second round of this year's NFL draft. Now, here's a key note that you guys need to be keeping in mind. Washington's going to be taking a quarterback at number 2 overall in the first round, okay? So you're probably not going to get the guys that are going to be going in round 1 this year, and which is okay, at least this year, because in most years, this would be a problem, all right? Most years, you have to take an offensive tackle in round 1 if you plan for him to start relatively early in his career. Here in 2024, though, this is a very deep tackle class. There's lots of good players at this position, and I have a feeling that by pick number 36 in round 2, there's still going to be a really good player for the Commanders to take there in the second round. So I'm going to be going over my top 5 offensive tackles here because there's just no way, in my opinion, that any of them fall to round 2. All right, Joe Alt is my number 1 guy out of Notre Dame. He's the most complete offensive tackle prospect in this year's draft class. All right, he's excellent as a run blocker and pass protector. He's got the body that you look for in physical profile. His dad is a Hall of Fame tackle in the National Football League. He's got the pedigree you look for. He's going to be a bona fide top 10 pick, might even sneak into the top 5 as well. Then I like Alou Fashanu from Penn State. He might be the best overall pass protecting left tackle in this year's draft class. Really clean film there in that regard. Still needs to work a little bit on the run blocking element of his game, but I think that's going to come in time. He's still super young. All these different things. I like Fashanu's upside. Then Troy Fautanu, there's some people saying that he was going to be a guard only in the National Football League. I disagree with that. He's got enough arm length to survive on the outside. He was absolutely fantastic as a left tackle there with the Huskies. He's got great mobility, great mirroring ability, and he uses his hands extremely well. He is a top 15 pick as well, in my opinion. And then Amarius Mims and Talisi Fuaga are the best right tackle prospects in this year's draft class. I don't think either of them have a snowball's chance in hell in making it out of the first round. And like I said, guys, none of these guys are going to fall. All right, so these are the top 5 guys. I have bona fide first-round grades on them. And if they're available in round 2, the Washington Commanders should absolutely sprint the card up at number 36 overall because I do think these guys are immediate starters and contributors in the National Football League. So who's the best offensive tackle in this year's NFL draft class? Let me know down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know who your number 1 offensive tackle is in this year's draft class. Now we get to the guys that could potentially fall to the Commanders in round 2, starting with J.C. Latham out of Alabama. Now there's a very good chance Latham ends up getting taken in round 1 as well. He's a behemoth of a human being, man. Absolutely huge, mauling run blocker. Now the reason why I say that he might slip to the second round is because he's still a little bit raw as a pass protector, which is why I have a late round 1 grade on him, and it's definitely possible he is there at number 36. Now, if I were a betting man, I would say he's probably gone by then, but there is a chance that the Commanders could take Latham at the top of round 2. Then number 7 on my list, I have Tyler Guyton, somebody that's extremely raw. He did not have a good week at the Senior Bowl. I know people like Daniel Jeremiah were calling him a winner because he was moving extremely well, and the measurements were really good. He's got super long arms, an incredible frame, and he moves extremely well. If he hits, he's going to be probably an all-pro right tackle in the National Football League. The question is he going to hit, and is he going to develop? So he's got super high upside, but he definitely has a lot of bust potential as well, so keep that in mind with Tyler Guyton. Then at number 8, Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, a very solid left tackle prospect coming out of the Wildcats. Now, I don't think Morgan is ever going to be an all-pro. I don't know if he's ever going to be a top 5 or maybe even top 10 offensive tackle in the National Football League. I don't know if he has that upside, but he's very solid in his technique. He's going to be somebody that can survive as a left tackle in the league right away. And if you're looking for somebody to come in and play right away and hold his own on an NFL field for the next 5 to 10 years, Jordan Morgan is probably your guy. I got a round 2 grade on him. Then we got Kieran, and this is going to be a tough one, man. Hameji, a mega DJ. I don't know, man, but I got a round 2 grade on him. He's out of Yale, and he's somebody that I think, like Jordan Morgan, has a lot of experience. He's pretty clean. Maybe doesn't have the high-end upside as some of the guys in my top 5, but he's somebody they could probably grab to be a legitimate NFL tackle from day one, all right? So he's not the biggest upside guy in the world, and he's got a name that I would definitely have to learn if he came to the Washington Commanders, but I do have a round 2 grade on him as well. And then to round out my top 10 here, I got 10 tackles with a round 2 grade or higher, and we're going to finish it out with Blake Fisher here, who, like Jordan Morgan and Kieran, he is somebody that's ready to play right away, in my opinion. I think that he's got good film, maybe not great film. He still has a little bit of a ways to go in terms of his development, but he's got all the physical upside that you want. Plus he's got pretty darn good film as well. He's probably a right tackle only. I don't know if he can move over to the left side, which is why he's 10th. Whereas Morgan and Kieran can play on the left side, so they get the edge a little bit there. But I really like Blake Fisher. Could really love to see him in a Washington Commanders uniform. Now, before I get into the rest of my list today, go ahead and check out our friends at Fanatics. And listen, man, the Dan Quinn era is here. And we know Dan Quinn loves to rock that backwards hat on the sidelines. I don't know if he's going to be doing it for the Commanders now that he's head coach, but man, you can rock this look on game days, and you would look damn good. All right, so you can go chatsports.com/DQ right now to get a Commanders ball cap on sale right now from our friends at Fanatics, and you can be ready to rock that backwards hat look during Commanders game days this year. You can lock that in right now by going to chatsports.com/DQ. If you use that link, Fanatics will know that we sent you. Then we get to the final three on my top 13 here. Round 3 grade for Christian Jones out of Texas. Now, like Blake Fisher, he's probably just a right tackle only. But he had arguably the best week of any tackle at the Senior Bowl this year. I thought he played with really good technique. He won more of the one-on-ones than some of the other tackles, including Tyler Guyton, who's above him on this list. I think if you're looking for somebody that can plug in as either a swing tackle or as your maybe even starting right tackle to start right away, I think Christian Jones is pretty darn good out of Texas, and I would trust him on an NFL field. Then the final two guys here, they're kind of more higher upside guys, potential starters, but, I have serious doubts about their ability to develop. We'll start with Patrick Paul here out of Houston. Long arms, big frame, good athlete, all that stuff is there. The tape is not, all right? The technique is definitely all over the place, too many holding penalties. He's got a long way to go before he is a starting capable tackle in the league, but a lot of teams around the league are going to look at his athletic upside and bet on that relatively early in this year's draft. I'm giving him a round 3 grade. And then Kingsley Suamataia, I hope I'm saying that right. I think I probably nailed it there. Producer Coop is nodding at me here. So I have a round 3 grade on him because similar to Patrick Paul, good athletic profile, massive human being, all right? And he's got the upside to potentially play on the left side as well in the National Football League. However, he does have a long way to go, just like Patrick Paul, at least in my opinion, in terms of his technique, his footwork, his hand placement, all that stuff that you need these guys in order to win. At the NFL level, the edge rushers and their finesse moves and all the moves that they bring to the table are just too good to survive at left tackle with the way Kingsley plays the game right now. So I have a round 3 grade on him. But if you're a team that's in need of potentially a long-term option and a developmental left tackle, I think Suamataia is somebody to consider. And my top 3 targets for the Washington Commanders specifically here. Jordan Morgan out of Arizona would be my number 1 choice because even though he doesn't have like the super high upside of somebody like, I don't know, a Troy Fautano or a Lou Fashanu, I think he's somebody that can survive as a starting left tackle in the National Football League right away. And as we all know, that's what the Commanders need. Plus, I think there's a pretty decent chance that he is sitting there at number 36. So I think right now, if he's there at number 36, you still need a left tackle for the future for this team. I think I'm probably pulling the trigger on Jordan Morgan. Then we got Kieran out of Yale. I would certainly take him if he's there as well, probably at pick number 40. I think that he's a good player, can play on either side of the line. And I think that he's a very solid player overall that I could trust on an NFL field. And then Blake Fisher. I really like Blake Fisher's game, man. When I watch his film now, I see somebody that is an NFL tackle, and he's going to get there, all right? He still has a little bit of these minor coaching points that he needs to get better at, but overall, his film is pretty clean for somebody that's expected to go on day 2, and he's got all the physical upside that you want for somebody that's going to be entering the NFL this year. All right, so now let me know down there in the comments section, which offensive tackle do you want the Washington Commanders to draft this year? Let me know down there in the comments section which guy you're hoping is there for the Commanders to take in the middle rounds of the NFL draft this year. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Again, make sure you click that thumbs up icon if you want to see more of these positional rankings right here on the Commanders Report. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now for more extensive Commanders draft content all throughout the 2024 offseason. All right. So that is our segments for today. Well, why don't you show the Super Chat menu one last time? I'll put up a 2-minute shot clock here. So if you guys have questions, use hashtag Commanders down there in the chat. We'll take some questions.
Oh, yeah.
To finish out today's show, we still got 231 people watching. So here's our Super Chat menu. I would love to slap the crap out of Coop with a tortilla. We got the tortillas right here.
That's crazy.
$20 Super Chat, and we'll slap the Cowboys fan. Any Super Chat gets on the show. Every $5 you spend equals one raffle ticket for a signed Commanders mini helmet that we're going to be raffling off next week on our live show. $10, we'll take a shot for you guys. And then $20 slaps. So if anybody's got questions, we'll answer them here these last minute and a half here.
Lonnie says he still misses Sean Taylor. What an absolute beast Sean Taylor was.
Sean Taylor was just absolute legend, man. Rest in peace.
Augustine the King says, should we draft Marvin and pick Bo Nix or JJ later?
No, because they're not going to be available at pick number 36.
What if you take Marvin at 2 and then trade back in?
Here's the thing. What are you doing at left tackle? What are you doing at edge? What are you doing at corner? Yeah, Cornelius. No way. Listen, man. Wide receiver is like a baby need for this team. It is not. We need to forego getting a franchise quarterback to take Marvin Harrison Jr. It is not that big of a need. You need a quarterback.
You do.
You kind of want another receiver. There's levels to this.
They already traded Sam Howell away. You have Marcus Mariota as your starting quarterback as we speak today. And that cannot be the case.
No, it cannot. So, I know people are going to throw, opportunities out there, and you have to consider everything. All right?
Sure.
You have to consider everything. Sure. And I've just considered it, and I don't want to do it. Because you need a quarterback. It's that simple. If you don't have a quarterback in this league, you can't compete.
You need a quarterback, man.
And how? I mean, if we're lucky, and if Dan Quinn is a good head coach, like I think that he is, how many more opportunities are you going to have to take a blue chip quarterback prospect like Drake May or Jaden Daniels?
Not many.
You're not going to have many.
If at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you have the opportunity to take this caliber of quarterback, why would you decide not to do that and trade down?
You take the quarterback now.
You take the blue chip quarterback prospects when they're in front of you, when you have the opportunity.
No doubt.
And, some of these other teams, in order to trade up, they're probably going to be willing to pay 2 first-round picks, maybe even 3 first-round draft picks, and more.
Are you joking?
I think Brian Dable would chop off his left nut to get Drake May as his quarterback.
Oh, you would.
But here's the thing. The Commanders and the Patriots both need quarterbacks, and the number one rule of the NFL draft in round 1 is that if there's a quarterback that you like and he is available and you need a quarterback, you take him. And you don't play games with it. You don't trade back and hope that your guy falls to you at number 11. You take your guy. All right, and the Commanders have the opportunity to do that. That's what I expect them to do. And they're meeting with J.J. McCarthy tonight, actually. They're having dinner with him before his pro day in Ann Arbor tomorrow. But like we said in a video earlier this week, they're just doing their due diligence. This isn't an indication that they're actually interested in McCarthy, at least in my opinion.
I wouldn't think so either. Yeah, I'm with you.
And honestly, if they draft J.J. McCarthy number 2 over Drake May or Jaden Daniels, I might shit my pants live on camera.
Live? Sorry,
live.
Sassy.
It'd just be the most mind-boggling decision that I have ever seen this team make.
They're gonna take Drake May or Jaden Daniels.
I know, but I'm just saying, if it was J.J. McCarthy, I would lose my mind.
All right. You ready to get on out of here?
Yeah, I'm ready. All right. That's going to be it for today's show, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you that stopped by this week's show. Make sure you join us next week, Thursday. Same time, same place. Me and Coop will be here. And, of course, we're going to be having content for you guys come out all throughout the weekend, so you're not going to want to miss that. Make sure you click that subscribe button. And until next time,